So, somebody with a keen eye and a sharp intellect commented on one of my videos saying, "What, are you conservative now?" Well, the term he used was red pill, which I'm not sure if it's actually incel terminology or if it's just what the kids are saying these days. I don't know. So I wanted to do like a little coming out video with a cat expertly placed in the background. Um, just to come out of the shadows a bit instead of hiding behind a layer of thick sarcasm. Yes, I am kind of more conservative now, but considering the context of the path that this country is going down and the path that the Democratic Party is going down, in order to retain good and pure in liberal senses, I would essentially have to go more extreme, more, anti-gun, more BLM, and support, masking up no matter what, like the 2020 and COVID really shook us all up and it polarized us and everything like that. So, I mean, that being said, I did vote for Trump the last election. It didn't work. And I was in, a democratically ran state, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But I just enjoy not being on the wrong side of history. And the Democrats right now, mainstream Democrats and everything, like the leftist of left leaning, are kind of nutters right now. They're kind of going off the deep end a bit. I think Trump getting elected kind of broke something in their psyche, and now some screws are missing, and the system isn't running properly anymore. And it's kind of morally good, morally just to, I don't know, support the minorityest of minorities. And that used to be actual minorities, it still is. And now it's, trans rights. They can use whatever bathrooms they want. They can, transfer into women's prisons and, you know, allegedly have consensual sex with the women, the trans women and regular women are, impregnating each other, and everything's fine. And then, and California's been like, they've been blazing the trail of nuttiness, and it's just nice to not be on that side, because it's so difficult to say anything or to have any discussion that doesn't agree with the leftist wokest of woke without being labeled, a white supremacist or a racist. Like all of the ists. Sexist, an ist or a phobe, those are their go-to things. And they're just kind of making up their own language too. Like they use the term Latinx or Latinx or whatever. Latinx is supposed to be a non-gender affirming way to call Latinos. And it's just so preposterously funny because it's so obvious that, white English speakers came up with that because they don't understand Spanish. I learned some Spanish. It's not gonna make me, immune to being called a racist. I know, I can't get ahead of myself. But in the Spanish language, if you're talking about males and females, it's just, you just use the masculine, pronouns, I guess you could call them, or conjugations. We don't really have that in English. But it's like they don't even ask certain minorities like what they want. Like they support BLM and do whatever they say, but the other minorities just kind of have to like tag along and think that they're included, and it's just kind of gross. It's just kind of gross. And there's so many things that are kind of gross about the Democratic Party right now. Like I could go on forever. and I haven't really posted a video in a while, and just so much stuff has happened, and I just can't keep up with the nuttiness, you know? With COVID, they just, and I don't really have a hard on for Trump, you know? Like, I think he's kind of gross looking and maybe has some misogynistic tendencies and is just sort of like this bombastic inflatable cartoon character. But see, the thing is, what makes him better about career politicians, better than them, is that he's not a career politician. He's independently wealthy and doesn't have to, you know, succumb to the same shady, you know, dealings, you know, like Mitt Romney has that look about him, like he probably drinks infant blood to like keep himself hydrated, you know? And Clinton, she may or may not be like an okay president. I mean, she was kind of a warmonger, but I mean, she does kind of have that reptilian energy. Like, she can study a human and maybe like figure out how to act, but she's still kind of like a robot, you know? And Trump, like, as crazy and, you know, insane of a character and, you know, kind of immature, maybe a bit of a narcissist or whatever, at least he's not a career politician. And it's really hard for career politicians to get elected and still stay good boys and girls, you know? Because they might have, you know, some ambition, they might want change and care about people and stuff when they get into politics. But in order to like make it that far, you have to kiss so much ass and make shitty promises and basically get run through like a meat grinder, and then, you know, a bunch of business executives just jack off on you, and then like whatever's left of you after that, then maybe that's like your spiel or what makes you a decent politician or whatever you can stand for that's even left. And yeah, the radical left, you know, progressives, they call themselves progressives. I came from like a progressive kind of family. Like, my mom's a progressive. And they're, the leftist of the left is, you know, they really like to hate on America and everything it stands for. It's considered kind of shunned to even like appreciate whatever the hell American values used to be, you know? And even like, I don't know, capitalism does need to be checked, you know, but at the same time, giving all of your wealth to the government or most of it and expecting things to be better, like, they want to quote Europe, right? Like, I used to hear that all the time growing up. Look how France does things, look how Italy does things, look how, you know, they have universal health care and they're doing great. Well, how are they doing now under COVID? With the lockdowns, with this authoritarian control, prices are rising a lot. Like, I don't know, I've been like thinking about doing some traveling abroad or wherever, and whenever I look at Europe, they're always doing worse than the United States. And so, yeah, and like, Italy's declining, their birth rate is declining, like, everything in Europe is just, you know, it's reached this state. They have like an influx of immigrants, and you're not allowed to say bad things about them, even though they like commit rape and crimes, and they're not really integrated into society, and they don't want to be, and they just let them in and let them shit all over their country. Let's see, the open border crisis right here, like, we don't even know how many, you know, what country did they come from? I think it was in the Caribbean. Haiti. A bunch of Haitians just stormed the Texas border. They walked here all the way through South America or whatever. And we spent thousands of dollars in taxpayer money to fly them back to Haiti, even though they haven't been there in years. And like, who knows how many of them are there, but I don't know. Just, we can't just let in anybody. That's what turns a country shitty immediately. Like, we don't know where these people came from, and now it's not even Mexicans either. Like, it's everybody wanted a piece. So I don't know, it's not very nice, you know, to say you can't come here, but and yes, you know, I do listen to Tim Pool, okay? I do listen to Tim Pool because there aren't very many people out there that just like ride the fence and like understand both sides, you know? And I actually do understand both sides. My my parents were politically like separate. I didn't find that out until the divorce. But yeah, my father is like the opposite side of the spectrum, but he's also like kind of racist, you know, like a racist boomer or whatever. And that's not so appealing. And you know, to to have this tribalism where you think that just because you're wearing a certain color, you think certain things is like the dumbest thing ever. And I don't know, there are idiots on both sides because that's how our political spectrum is divided, is these hot button issues that people won't budge on and you have to vote one way or the other. And you know, as society crumbles as it wants to do, um, sometimes the Christian conservatives, they actually make more sense. I'm just listening for my roommates. I actually don't know how much they can hear, but they're all like kind of really democratic, and I can't really have discussions with them. So it's kind of awkward. And my room just has like these walls that echo, and it just like gathers. But I don't think people really care. But anyway, um, people are dumb. People are dumber than they probably have ever been in history, and it's not just one side. But the sad thing about the Democratic Party is that they used to be the side that supported, I don't know, freedom of speech and science and, you know, all of these things, and they're just so not anymore. You know, like they're, in order to one up Trump or whatever, they've become so militant with the masks and with the COVID numbers just because they feel like they're fighting something. And really, it's just an imaginary battle. I mean, there are people that are at risk and should probably get vaccinated and stuff, but for the most part, the numbers are down. It's just, like, wow, there's this new disease. It's killing people. We don't know what's going on. Oh, how many people is it killing? Oh, less than 1%. But it has these symptoms, and some of the symptoms can be permanent, and it can give you heart problems, blah, blah, blah. And there's this article that says this, and there's this article that says that. And oh no, panic, panic. We need to all be vaccinated and triple vaccinated and get our boosters. Like, it's just crazy and insane, and it never stops. And just watching Biden bumble around and just, he hardly even knows where he is, let alone like being president. And I used to think like, oh no, we're only a couple presidents away from like a robotic president, you know, like they put an implant in their brain and they have like a control switch that gets them to like say different things. And like that would be the end of democracy, but it'd also be less embarrassing for the United States, honestly. There might be some pros to that. Like this old man, you know, maybe there is, you know, this vicious, you know, nonsensical politician under there, but I mean, can't he just leave him alone? Like, let him shit his pants in a nursing home. Like, why do we have to make him be president just to take Trump down? So stupid. And, you know, with the insurrection, that was pretty stupid too. Like, yeah, I mean, it was entertaining. Like, the guy with the Viking hat, yeah, need to hit him up. Maybe we'd have a lot in common. But What really changed things for me was, well, I moved to like a more conservative area or whatever, mostly because prices are really insane in like in the big liberal cities like Seattle and LA and whatnot. But I used to sell insurance, right? And you go into somebody's home and you're so nice and you compliment everything about their house and them and everything. And sometimes they just go off on politics and you have to just like be part of that ride or whatever. And when I was starting out, I was partnered with somebody who, was this Christian conservative, good boy type, had a kid at a young age, listened to Ben Shapiro. I'll never be able to listen to Ben Shapiro. That's where I draw the line. Like I listen to a few conservative voices, and Ben Shapiro, he just has like this demonic little voice, and he talks fast and he thinks that it makes him sound smart, but it just makes him sound like insecure and like a little demonic, like I'm sure he wouldn't appreciate this if he heard it, but he kind of reminds me of how I would picture, like Satan's little like butt buddy assistant, like, oh, is there anything else you need, Dark Lord? Like he has that, I can talk really fast and blah, 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 according to the Bible, blah, blah, blah. And it's just so annoying. Yeah, for the most part, evangelical Christians, like, they'll be talking about the economy going to hell, they'll be talking about American values, they'll be talking about, how, children are indoctrinated with, like trans ideology bullshit, and then I'll be with them, right? But then they'll talk about how the earth is only 5,000 years old, and it's just like, you were so close. You were so close, but you missed the mark, like, hard. That's how I feel about political parties in general. But there's no space to be an independent anymore. You're one or the other, unfortunately. And yeah, you don't need me to tell you that CNN is corrupt and mainstream media is corrupt, but like, what's mind-blowing to me is that I find myself watching Fox News once in a while on YouTube, and they actually make sense now. I mean, I didn't watch it much before or whatever, but I mean, it seems like the left has changed. It's not just me. And the conservatives want to say, oh, we were right all along. Ah. That's my Ben Shapiro voice. Hi, cat. You want to be in my video? It's gonna have 6 views in it. Yeah. This cat isn't even mine, but he thinks he just owns me and my room and the entire house. It's really annoying. But anyway, yeah, tell me what you guys think. Like, was it super obvious or not that I'm more conservative now or whatever? It's just, I can't support a lot of this shit. I mean, the conservatives did say, like, oh, if you make, gay marriage a thing, then people are gonna marry their dogs, or like weird shit like that. And it didn't quite go in that direction, but there is like this sense of like completely still pushing for something. And as somebody that was like taken advantage of at a young age and, let's be real, like abused as a kid, I'm really sensitive to like people creeping on kids, and like in Florida they have like the so-called Don't Say Gay bill, but it really should be called like Liberal Activists Can't Read bill, because all it does is just prevent teachers from keeping secrets with kids about like sex and gender identity bullshit and stuff like that. And I don't have kids, but like, I don't know, it'd be nice to do that at some point. And what kind of world is that where they're supposed to be learning about like ABCs and math and like don't piss your pants, and they're being taught about like gender identity and shit. Like that's too young. Like even straight or cis as they call them children don't really ever like, they don't even have attraction to each other, you know, like adults do. Like they're not even going through puberty yet. So I think that if they're going to teach them about, you know, gay stuff and queer stuff and gender, whatever, creativity, blah blah blah, at least wait until they're like 12 or 13, because I guarantee you that like once a little boy gets like his first boner from seeing a girl in like a training bra, he's not gonna think that he's gay. But like that early on, like you can really do some damage. Like you can really, you know, fuck someone up and think into thinking they're weird, or they're like, they have to be in some category just because they're more inclined to like certain things. Like when I grew up, I was like a tomboy or a tomgirl or whatever, and I climbed trees and played in the mud, and you know, like no one thought anything about it. Didn't really wear makeup, you know, it wasn't for me. Didn't wear dresses. Like there's not any one way to be a certain gender. It's just sort of like that's what you got, that's what you are, you know? And I'm not like a heavily religious person, but I mean, it seems like wokeism is kind of a religion, you know? Like it's gotten so militant, and it's gotten this, you know, original sin where if you don't like fess up to your racism, you're a social pariah, and if you're not an ally, and it's like constant change, constant degradation, constant, and it's just, it's kind of uneasy. Like it's, and the left does their best to just completely censor the other side of things, like they want to do, because they only want their side to be heard. And it just gets creepy, you know? Like when I figured out how much they have to edit Trump's speeches or whatever random shit he says to make him look bad. Like, yeah, he does say jokes and says, you know, off-color stuff, but if you actually listen to like the whole thing he says, it's like, it feels like a betrayal, like a huge betrayal. You know, like why do you have to work so hard to make him look bad if he is as bad as he say he is, you know? And I don't know, maybe there should be more, you know, celebrities and public figures that become president that don't have law degrees, or they don't, you know, they don't have to join the circle jerk and, you know, commit to blood rituals and stuff in order to get elected, or whatever the hell they do behind the scenes. There's definitely some sketchy shit happening. I don't know if they eat babies or not, but like I wouldn't put it past them, you know? Like I'm not a full-on Alex Jones person, because I want to maintain some sanity, but and there's some controversy as to like whether or not mail-in ballots count, or if they're as secure. And there was something cycling the internet about like throwing away ballots and everything like that. And I just really don't think that one person doing that would make a difference in an election. I think that voters fraud does happen. It's never not happened, but it's just sort of like, I don't know. Like I live in a state that has always done mail-in ballots. Like you never had to, you know, go to a physical place and vote. Like that's so weird. Like that creeps me out a little bit, you know? Like people see you and know you're voting, they try and sway you. You know, it's like I'm voting, not going to get an abortion, you know? Both of which should be illegal, by the way. So anyway, that's it. That's my conservative coming out story, I guess. I think that I'm more right-leaning, but there are some things that I'm just never gonna be on board with, you know? Like, I'm never gonna be a Christian. I'm never, you know, and a lot of them are Christian. honestly, and that's because they've been forced out, you know, of everything they kind of believe in, tradition, and, you know, not hating America and all that shit. You know, like, people come up, if someone came up to me and was like, oh, have you heard about Jesus? You know, it's just sort of like, yeah, he's an ancient dead guy who got killed by Romans, probably because he was annoying. I don't know. There's an entire book about it, but it's long and boring. But I don't know, I think there is part of, you know, being a human being that makes you, like, wonder about the outside world, and let's explain the unexplained and everything like that. And they're just things in the Bible that just don't make sense for today. You know? Like with their whole, like, be fruitful and multiply shit. Yeah, and 2,000 years ago, that was a good idea because people were dying of sickness and disease and, I don't know, probably lions or whatever. And they had to, like, keep the human population up. But now it's sort of like, I don't know. You want to argue that that humans are, like, being depopulated because not enough of us are reproducing, and then it just becomes like a, wait, they're having plenty of kids in the Philippines. Like, what do you mean? Do you mean like, oh no, there's gonna be no more white people? Or do you mean like, oh no, there's not enough people to keep this economy going? Or do you mean like, oh no, our traditional values of having children? You know, like, it's just it's so complicated, you know? This freaking cat. And about abortion, I don't support, like, later term abortion. I'm really horrified when I hear stories about that, you know? And I get that, like, early on it is more than a bundle of cells. It's like cells becoming a human, so it's going to look kind of like a human that early, but it's just, it's hard to say. I mean, if, God forbid, if I got raped by somebody and got pregnant, and that hasn't happened, it probably won't happen, but let's say that happened, I probably would hesitate in my decision to, like, abort it or keep it. Probably not keep it. Honestly, I want to raise, like, a rapist kid. Like, what if it grows up to be a rapist? Like, I'd be pretty pissed if people told me I couldn't get an abortion, you know? And it's just, like, a very, how do you know it was rape? You know, like those poor women in jail who had, like, a trans woman who just identified as a woman, fully intact male. I really think that you should, like, get snipped before you go into a women's prison, you know? Like, if you want, if you fear for your life, you'll sacrifice your manhood, you know? You know what I mean? Like, if you're so bullied for wearing makeup or colorful clothing, then you wouldn't mind. You know, it's just ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. But anyway, you know, the Catholics for the longest time thought that, like, sex beyond marriage was a sin, masturbation was a sin, but also even, like, ejaculating not into a vagina to create a life is, like, a sin too. So it's sort of like, life begins at conception. Okay, well, what if it's a miscarriage? Is she a murderer? That's a popular one. But then with all of this, you know, fertility technology and stuff, the best way to do it is to, like, fertilize create a few different embryos and keep one, or whatever. Are you a murderer then? You know? Wasting your genetic material, using birth control, is that a sin? You know? Like, how far do you want to take it back? You know? And of course, I think that most women aren't like, yeah, let's do some tequila shots and then I'll get an abortion. You know, like, I don't think it's, like, fun. You know, it's at least 2 or 3 times worse than a normal period. You know, like, it's not a fun day. It's another issue that I have with conservatives. A few, really. I'm really kind of a centrist, to be honest, but the whole climate change thing is just like an inability to like see science but in a different way. Like there's not much we can do now. There's not much we can do because the planet's gonna do what the planet does. Humans are gonna do what we do, which is burn fossil fuels. It's one of our favorite things to do. And with gas prices being the way they are, Biden's great plan is nothing. And it's so infuriating because he stopped, oil production in the United States and took actions to get rid of that because of environmental reasons or whatever. Sure. But what the hell are we gonna do? Because we can't get the materials to make the microchips to make the cars. So how are we gonna get enough electric cars? There's only one electric car company that's producing right now, and that's Tesla. And meanwhile, you have rich liberals like Stephen Colbert, how far he's fallen, really, saying, oh, I don't care about the gas prices, I drive a Tesla. Like, we can't all drive Teslas, come on. Used cars, shitty used cars, their prices are going up because we're not making enough actual cars. But the thing with climate change, really, like, you can love polar bears and want to hug them or, preserve them, or you could not. Like, things have gone extinct and risen and gone extinct in the earth for so long. And yeah, we are kind of a destructive species. But, the thing is, like, we depend on plants and agriculture and everything like that to sustain us. And if the climate goes whack, these, like, the genetic material of these plants or whatever, like, they can't adapt fast enough. Like, nature can't adapt fast enough for how much the climate is changing. So the concern is maybe we're gonna run out of food. We're gonna have like some mass starvations, and maybe in the future we'll have to rely almost exclusively on genetically modified food and keep modifying it to keep up with the changing climate. So, I mean, I'd be more concerned about humans than it would be about polar bears, just because, we should worry about ourselves, really. Because the direction we're going is not going to be great for us either, Like, we're indiscriminately kind of destroying everything for everybody. It's not just, tree huggers that are, getting the short end of the stick. But, Republicans are just in such denial about it. They're just like they cherry pick their science. They're sort of like, oh, look how much hotter it was in the Cretaceous period. And it's like, yeah, but that was fucking billion years ago, It was billions of years ago. How many? Maybe like 1 or 2 billion, I don't know. But, like, things have had the chance to evolve. And I don't know what we're gonna do, Part of me kind of wants us to just, like, go back to horses or whatever. Like, sometimes you see in, like, third world countries that have, like, old shitty cars, like, being pulled by a mule or something, like, that, I don't know. I just want everything to crumble secretly so that I can just, like, run into the woods and have, like, a ranch and maybe, like, start a couple cults, just have this casual thing going on. And a lot of people like to typecast me as a white supremacist just because I have pale skin. I mean, first of all, you're assuming that I'm exactly like other white people, Like, who's racist now? Like redheads are rare too, okay? Like, we're our own creed of person. Like, if I were to commit a crime, there wouldn't be like someone else getting stereotyped and go to jail. Like, I would go to jail. They would have like a lineup with me and then just like nothing else. It would just be me, you know? Like, I can't get away with things that having like a normal hair or like a normal average looking face. I can't get away with the same stuff that other people can. And another reason why I wouldn't be a white supremacist is that it just like seems like a lot of work. You know, like I have to have rallies and like wear the robes and shit. Like I can't do that, you know? And commit to, you know, making blood sacrifices and stuff. Like I'm not gonna be an advocate for all white people ever. Because most of us suck. The same with, you know, any race. And gosh, this obsession with racial privilege and I'm this race and that race and blah blah blah, and that means that you're privileged and you need to pay me money because I blah blah blah. You know, and it's, yeah, racism is a terrible thing, and we do have a history of slavery and taking advantage of other races and stuff. But like, to say or imply that, you know, white people are the only people that can be racist is kind of like, come on, dude. Like, human beings are 99.8 or whatever percent similar. We're gonna notice our differences, especially if it's a skin color thing, but we're mostly the same, you know, genetically. There was like I don't know, like an evolutionary bottleneck, or a few bottlenecks, where there really weren't that many humans at all. So we're all pretty much, like, a lot of other species have more differences and similarities. Like, I think chimpanzees or, like, other primates or whatever have more genetic diversity than humans do, if that makes sense. But we're really tribal, you know, and we stick to our own kind, and, you know, we like to kill each other. So there's gonna be racism. There's no like one race that isn't racist. You know, like there are gonna be racist people from every race. But like in New York City, there are just, I don't know, kind of a surge of hate crimes against Asians, and there's like this black Asian race war happening like under the table. It's kind of, I don't see what the point of a race war is, honestly. Like it seems like there'd be nothing to gain from that and everything to lose. But yeah, what do you guys think? Do you think we'll ever get over racism? Like, do you think that, like, say 3,000 years into the future, like Elon Musk can figure it out how to like turn farts into energy or something like that, and we're just all like farting around on, you know, like floating skateboards or whatever? Are like slightly brown people going to be reminding paler people that 3,000 years ago their ancestors were enslaved by them, and therefore they have to like give them money or something like that? Like, is there still gonna be like this shitty awkwardness? I know it was only like, I don't know, 200 and whatever years ago. Actually, that's most of the time this country has been here. We haven't had slavery. But anyway, like, how long are we gonna hold a grudge? But it's more than that. Sort of like, yeah, history is important. We shouldn't forget history. We should continue to tell history. And sure, you know, maybe there are different like little woke history, you know, things that we forgot because, you know, the winners write history. Yeah, sure, I can get that. I can get behind that. But I don't know, like their perspective on race issues is really pessimistic, and it always comes down to like, white people should repent, you know, as if the same resources weren't available to everybody. I mean, yeah, some schools are better funded or whatever, but if you pay attention and do well in school and, you know, get scholarships or whatever, like there's so many scholarships out there for disadvantaged groups, whatever they are. I'm not going to get specific because, you know, someone will try to cancel me. Oh no. But yeah, maybe that's just my white privilege talking. And that's another thing. White privilege kind of pisses me off because nothing about like my upbringing or environment growing up was privileged. Like I didn't have any money. I couldn't do anything. You know, like I had to rely on like state funding in order to do anything important, to go to college, to like it. Obviously, I am blessed with certain qualities that might give me privilege over others, but I also work my ass off, you know? And yeah, to tell like little kids and stuff that they're disadvantaged or they should just give up because they're, you know, of a different color and discriminated against, that's just kind of like, stop creating racism when they're little kids, you know? Like, just stop. To a certain way, in a certain way, yeah, I do agree with what they're saying, kind of. Like, you should be aware of your history, you should be aware of, you know, your place in the world, and aware that some differences and injustices exist. But to fight this war, this imaginary war, you know, and this imaginary concept that, you know, like America isn't, you know, a place of social mobility where people can start a business, come up with an idea and gain money from it and work their way up the ladder with education and job opportunities. Like, that's bullshit. And, you know, the far off to the left Democrat side, they may not admit it, but they do kind of dislike America because they want to change it and make it not what America is. And granted, yeah, why do we need to get in so many wars over stupid bullshit in all different edges of the planet? Why do we really need to do that? But besides that, you know, think about it. When Trump was president, it was like a night and day difference between now, right? We didn't have inflation. The stock market was going well. I mean, who the hell cares about the stock market? But that's how a lot of people make money. Who want to, you know, sit on their ass and be like, oh, bro, let's invest, bro, investing, bro. Yeah, and gas prices were low. We were, you know, creating our own oil. What? What happened? And I'm scared for this country. I really am. Like, I think that my generation was born in a time period where it's sort of like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, you know? Like, if you believe in this country and everything that's good about it, you're a white supremacist, or you're delusional, or something like that. And if you don't, then you're essentially on the side of communism, because they support different wealth distribution and everything. And don't get me wrong, I think it would be really entertaining if Bernie Sanders were president. You know, that would never happen, because the shadow people wouldn't let it happen. But let's say it did, he would never get anything passed at all, ever. And he would just be sitting there, ranting, and just like shivering in his little jacket, and it would be a show. It would be interesting. Yeah, and with all this dude bro economics of Andrew Yang, like, let's set up a system where people are paid to do nothing because they'll just put the money back in the economy and we can just keep laundering our tax money. And it's like, okay, whoa. You came here to run for president, not start us off on some Ponzi scheme, alright? It's kind of like that, but anyway, I'm interested to see what happens, and in 2024. It's really been 2 years. It's been a long 2 years. It's okay. We'll get through it together, but yeah. I don't know, I guess I am kind of a conservative, just because I'd rather be labeled that than anything else, I guess. I just feel like the Democrats are kind of on the wrong side of history, you know? Like, they're so militant right now, and maybe it's just like the younger generation who can vote now, and it's just like, it's scary, it's really scary. Because, I mean, not to hate on my own generation, but I'm kind of an oddball as it is, but compared to my generation, like some of them are like really stupid, like really stupid and really spoiled. And like, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? Are they gonna stop watching TikTok videos long enough to like focus on your McDonald's order? I don't even know. And they're you know, there was a poll that most of Zoomers or Gen Z or whatever the fuck, 60% or whatever, tend to support communism. So stupid. Like, this is why they teach history, right? And I don't want like another Red Scare to happen, but like, we kind of need it. We kind of need it right now. You know? And yeah, it's hard growing up in a shitty neighborhood and a disadvantaged whatever and a blah blah blah. Like, sometimes you just gotta get out. Go somewhere else. But yeah, I'm mildly worried. I'm not extremely worried. I mean, for myself, I know that I'll be fine. Let me put it that way. But I think the way things are going, I think a lot of people are gonna be not so fine. I mean, they already are, but it's gonna get, I think it's gonna get worse. Because we have some food shortages on the horizon, and we already have inflation. We have the stupid Ukraine war boycott. And Ukraine and Russia, they produce so much grain and fertilizer for the world, and it's just, I'm not saying we shouldn't, you know, trade embargo, boycott them or whatever the hell. I mean, it's like it's a really weak stand, but at least it's something. It's very not the best plan. Oil too. They produce a lot of oil. The messed up thing is that we rely on monocrops and genetically modified foods and fertilizers essentially made using oil, I believe, fossil fuels, to make these synthetic fertilizers. That's gonna suck. And we already have a huge fertilizer shortage for next year. Like, the price of fertilizer is going like, actually I think it's this spring or whatever, spring and the summer, like the next year after, it's gonna be hard because there's a fertilizer shortage. We're not gonna have as much corn. And some of you might say, who cares about corn? We don't even eat corn. All of their processed foods and like all of our Oreos that fat people eat, and all of, you know, corn is in everything. Corn syrup, corn starch, tortillas, you know, like all that shit made with corn. Livestock eat corn. Most of our beef eats corn. Like, how are farmers gonna even afford to? And yeah, I am kind of like low-key dreaming of an apocalypse, because it would be very interesting. Like, I don't even watch Netflix anymore. I don't watch any shows or anything, because there's no way it could be as entertaining as like watching the world end like in live live right before our eyes, you know? Like it's gotta stop somewhere. It's gotta stop somewhere. And this is a really long video already. I'm just gonna keep going because there's so many things wrong with the world right now. The housing market. So much wrong with the housing market. I mean, yeah, during COVID, people were obsessed with the whole work from home shit. That's how it started. You know, wanting to move out of cities because they suck and there are restrictions, and if you just stay in your little box in the city and you can't go outside without a mask on, like, who the hell wants that? Let's find, you know, a place out in the country and, you know, pick up these different hobbies and yada yada. Let's do that instead. So, then the housing prices go up. And then investors, they want a piece of the pie because the stock market isn't as good of an investment anymore. They want growth. So they hit the stock market. Then you have like these big investors like BlackRock. They're hitting the stock market. And then you have China and Chinese real estate. They have pieces of the United States real estate too. It's just like everybody is like, yeah, buy. Great investment. Dude, bro, invest, bro. Yeah. Easy money, bro. And these real estate companies are just like buying properties that have like a few dings and scratches in them, or like they need major work done, and they just put a new code paint on it and they try and flip it. And yeah, and BlackRock and what's the other one? Zillow. Oh, Zillow, you bad boy, Zillow. Zillow was this house listing service that they originally said they weren't gonna try and buy homes. This is just listing or whatever. They started buying homes and inflating the prices and selling them, basically doing like a house flipping division. That didn't work out and they had to completely get rid of that. But that contributed to the housing market going up. And then we had inflation because of rising gas prices, because we're not producing oil in the United States anymore. We shut down that pipeline or whatever, which I was firmly against not too long ago, a few years ago, whatever. But I know, right? It's like, but yeah, between the, you know, outlawing the shale oil production or U.S. oil production and the pipeline, everything like that, the oil investors decided, yeah, this isn't a great investment. We're gonna pump prices. So anyway, inflation rose the housing costs because investors are thinking, oh, because of inflation happening, we need to buy houses to fight inflation. So now normal people can't even buy houses. And there are certain many YouTubers or whatever, they're saying like, you guys, there's gonna be another housing crash. There's going to be, has all the signs right here. And then other people are like, no, there's not gonna be another housing crash. We're totally cool. We learned so much from 2008. We learned so much. It's completely different. It's totally not gonna crash. We have safety measures and we don't just lend to anybody. But it's just like, it's gotta end at some point. But anyway, the world's ending. Enjoy it. I'm Rachel McRage. I guess I'm a conservative. Whatever, I don't really care. I'm a centrist anyway. But yeah, peace.